Hey, what are we doing today?
We're making tacos. So about 5 pounds of hamburger, and we usually do a half of it, so like 2.5 pounds. That feeds like five to 7, possibly more. Depends on how many tacos you like. We usually eat 5 to 7 tacos a person. So we're gonna use 1/4 of it because only 2 of us are eating.
So you're only gonna make a small portion, just enough for us?
Yes. Just want to break this meat up so that it is small and bite-sized. I'm using a big pan because I'm used to cooking for more people. We are going to season it. Yeah, I put this on medium heat for, well, just until it's completely brown and there's no more pink bits. We season it with salt and pepper liberally. Ricky always says that I don't season it enough, so you can feel free to add more or less as you feel is needed.
That's good.
Again, I'm usually cooking for more. We add some salt. And then we add cinnamon. Now, some people don't like cinnamon in their taco meat, but I understand. Some people don't like cinnamon in their taco meat, but this is what I have always cooked with. This is what I learned with. And my mom has since started using different types of taco seasoning, of just generic brands of full-on taco seasoning. Again, we're just trying to break this up so that it is just little bite-sized bits, and we'll just let it cook down. Currently, we're waiting for the oil to heat up. You want it to be pretty warm before you actually put tortillas in there. Do keep an eye on it though, because if you just leave the grease in there or the oil in there on high heat, it will start a fire if you walk away and aren't paying attention to it. These are corn tortillas that we're going to fry up in canola oil. You can use pretty much any type of vegetable oil for this, but this is what we've always used. Usually you count out about how many you need and you use enough oil to use it all up. I try and not waste. Alright, I think we have gotten the oil up to a high enough heat that we can start doing the shells. You want to make sure you don't have any holes in your tortillas like this. That causes problems, so I usually just throw those tortillas away. First, you're just going to put them into the oil flat and let it kind of bubble up a little bit. And once you see the bubbles starting to happen, I usually flip it over completely and then fold it. And then I let it sit there like that till it gets brown on one side and then flip it again. These tortillas are usually what make our tacos a little bit different from most people's, because most people just they just buy pre-made shells, and I like the crunchiness of the brown shells. Not that the pre-made ones aren't crunchy, but it's always nice to have them soft and crunchy sort of at the same time. The tongs that we're using are metal tongs. These types of tongs are not the kind that you want. They also have metal ones that are like this that you don't want either. All of these kinds of tongs will kind of rip the taco shells. Even these ones will rip the taco shells if you're not careful. I'm now just kind of watching my taco shells at the same time as cooking the meat down. As you can see, the meat is getting to a much smaller proportion to actually be bite-sized for our tacos.
So I see you draining the oil out of the middle.
Yeah, when I get them over, when they're done, I try and drain them out so that it just doesn't drip over everything. I drain them out on top of another shell that is already flat, and that's just, I don't know, it's something I've always set up that way so that it kind of cooks the top. This is kind of what we're going for. This one is going to be crispy and still have enough flexibility for you to put in all of the toppings that you want on your tacos. If you need more seasoning on your meat, you can season it 2 or 3 times. Often on larger batches, that's what I do, is I section it, season it the whole side, let it cook a bit down, season it again. I do it about 2 to 3 rounds.
So after the meat is cooked, I just set it aside, and then I'm going to start on my beans. For the 2 of us, we're just going to make 1 can. I have no idea which is the best beans, but the Rosarita beans are delicious. So I just squeeze the can and it slides right out. I put this on medium heat because beans cook incredibly quickly. So to the beans, I'm going to add some garlic salt, some pepper, and a little bit of salt. Kind of depends on how salty you like it. And then just a little bit of shredded cheese. And I'm actually going to try and use a little bit of Red Hot in there for 2 reasons. I want to try and see how it tastes because I think it'll be delicious. And also, we don't have any salsa. We just don't have any in the house. So I'm going to kind of spice the beans up a little bit. I've actually had the beans with jalapenos in them, and I think they're delicious. So that's kind of the flavor that I'm going to go for. You just let them cook until they're hot, and they should look about like this. So in order to cut tomatoes, you want to cut them really small for tacos. So what I have here is a nice Roma tomato. A lot of people don't like this little place where the stem came out. It doesn't bother me at all, and usually you end up cutting it up into tiny pieces anyway. If you really feel strongly that you don't want to eat that, cut it out first, but I found that the best way to cut very fine tomatoes is to cut them lengthwise first, trying to keep it all together. And for this you need a very sharp knife. And then kind of make sure that they're all in a row, and just cut as small as you possibly can. I usually use romaine lettuce when I'm making tacos, but the romaine lettuce looked really disgusting when I was at the store, so I bought a head of iceberg. I'm not going to use very much of this. If you are a person who likes keep a head of lettuce whole, you might just want to peel off leaves. I am actually just going to cut a little chunk off of this because I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be cutting it all. So just put that back. And again, for tacos, you're going to want little tiny ribbons. So I'm actually going to cut this into about, I think I'm going to cut this into 3 pieces so the ribbons aren't very long. And then again, just chop as finely as you possibly can. So you want all of your lettuce just kind of like that, so it fits nicely into the taco. So Anthony really likes me to make his tacos for him, and thus I've had to develop a very specific way of putting the tacos together. So come over here. I'm going to show you the difference between the type of taco shell that makes a good taco and the type of taco shell that breaks and crumbles. This one's going to break. So it just broke on the edges. This one would still make an okay taco, but once you put stuff in there, and fold it back, you're going to have a hard time keeping it together because it'll just split up the seam. The good ones are going to be completely crispy, but open easily, and that way you can put as much topping fixings in there as you want, and close it back up and you'll be able to eat it. This is the technique that I developed in order to make taco making quick, painless, and so that it has the best result while eating it. You have to put the beans in the bottom. Now I have pretty much all wooden stuff, so I just kind of spread the beans out all over the taco shell like that. Put a little dollop in, spread it out. The next thing that you put in is the taco meat. So, if your meat's very greasy, we usually drain the meat if it's too greasy. It's always good to use a slotted spoon, that way you don't have a lot of grease. You want about a quarter cup of meat. Kind of depends on how meaty you want your tacos, but it should fill up at least half of the taco shell. Think about like that. So you've got all of your taco shells stuffed. I'll bring it over here to the fixins. Now we like everything on our tacos. Most people have a thing against tomatoes, or some people hate lettuce because it tastes like dirt. We like everything, so I have the tomatoes cut up, the lettuce cut up, the sour cream I like to put in its own separate bowl with its own separate spoon. That way you don't contaminate your entire sour cream container. Cheese in its own bowl, especially if you have friends over. You don't want them digging their dirty fingers into your cheese bag and then putting it back in your fridge. This bowl is actually for salsa, but like I said, we don't have any salsa on hand right now, so again, I'm going to use some red hot. I'm not going to put that in the bowl because it's got a little pour spout. Alright, so after the beans and meat, you just put cheese on top of the meat. That way it kind of melts and sticks in, and also has the least chance of falling out all over the place. This is just a pinch of cheese. You're going to adjust it to your tastes.
At this point, do the tacos stand up by themselves? Is that what you're going for?
Eventually they'll stand up by themselves, especially on these particular plates. 6 tacos stand up. 4 tacos isn't going to stand up very easily. After you put on the cheese, I generally like to put on the tomatoes. So this is like the veggie zone. Put the tomatoes in there because that's another thing that easily falls out. I would also, if I had guacamole or other types of toppings that are considered vegetables, I would put those in here too.
What other types of toppings do you sometimes use for tacos?
You can do olives, you can do onions, you can do peppers, pretty much anything that you desire for your taco. We have a pretty streamlined method of how to make tacos, so this is what we like, this is what we use. After the veggie layer, notice I did not put the lettuce in the veggie layer, that goes on later. After the veggie layer, you do the condiment layer. So I'm going to put some hot sauce. You want hot sauce on all of these?
Sure.
Okay. Just going to sprinkle some hot sauce in there.
Again, we usually use salsa in this layer.
And then sour cream to your heart's content. Anthony's sister really likes sour cream, so she'll put a lot more. I just put like a small little, actually this isn't small. I put a generous dollop and kind of spread it out a little. So this is not a healthy meal. These are probably about 500 calories a piece, not gonna lie. All right, then the last thing you put on is lettuce. And the reason for that is lettuce is not messy. Sure, it'll get all over the place if you let it, but it'll keep the sour cream and everything in place. And also, it's easy to like pinch it shut. So that's your final taco. Once again, what I was doing is picking up a little bit of lettuce, enough to cover the top, and just smushing everything down with the lettuce. That way everything is in there in a compact little shell.
How much lettuce are you using?
Again, it's just a pinch. It's enough to cover the top. I'd say this is about 1/8 of a cup of lettuce if you really want to like measure it out. And there you go.
And what do you do if anybody doesn't like any specific thing on their tacos?
They need to lump it. No. Usually what people dislike is the tomatoes, so you just leave those off. There's not really any substitute because a taco will taste delicious any which way.
So they can just put beans and meat on it if they want, right?
Yes. So there you go. Finished tacos.